The sleek glass walls of my office provided an unobstructed view of the bustling New York City skyline, but my attention was entirely consumed by the financial report in front of me. As the CEO of Benson Enterprises, every number, every trend, and every projection held profound implications for the future of my company, the empire I had built from the ground up. My eyes narrowed as I scanned the figures, searching for any anomalies or discrepancies that might hint at underlying issues. That's when I noticed it, a subtle pattern that didn't quite align with our projections. A knot formed in my stomach, a familiar feeling that had served me well in the cutthroat world of corporate espionage. The door to my office swung open, and Isabella strode in, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. My wife, and the chief operating officer of Benson Enterprises, radiated confidence and ambition, qualities that had initially drawn me to her. But today, something seemed off. "Lucas," she said, her voice clipped, "we need to discuss the Horizon merger." I arched an eyebrow, studying her expression. "Of course. Have a seat." As she settled into the chair across from me, I couldn't shake the nagging suspicion that something wasn't right. Isabella's posture was rigid, her movements unnaturally stiff. Her gaze flickered away from mine, and I detected a hint of unease in her demeanor. "Is everything all right?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. Isabella cleared her throat. "Yes, of course. Why do you ask?" "You seem distracted." A fleeting grimace crossed her features before she smoothed her expression into a mask of cool professionalism. "It's nothing. Let's focus on the merger." But I couldn't focus. Not when my instincts were screaming at me that something was amiss. Isabella's evasiveness only fueled my suspicions, and I found myself scrutinizing her every move, searching for clues to the mystery that had taken root in my mind. As the meeting progressed, my doubts grew stronger, overshadowing even the critical details of the Horizon merger. By the time Isabella left my office, my decision was made. It was time to uncover the truth, no matter how unpleasant it might be. In the following weeks, I became a master of deception, concealing my growing mistrust beneath a veneer of normalcy. While Isabella went about her daily routine, blissfully unaware, I meticulously assembled an arsenal of surveillance equipment, hidden cameras, sophisticated software, and cutting-edge technology designed to track her every move. With each piece of evidence I uncovered, the knot in my stomach tightened. Isabella's late nights at the office, her furtive glances, and her sudden interest in designer lingerie all painted a damning picture. But it wasn't until I intercepted a coded message on her personal device that the truth became undeniable. "Meeting at the usual spot. Can't wait to see you." The message was signed with a simple initial, D. My hands trembled as I cross-referenced the initials against our employee database. Daniel Clark, our charming and influential chief financial officer. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. I should have confronted them then and there, but a part of me, the calculating, strategic side that had propelled me to the pinnacle of success, held back. I needed more evidence, more ammunition to ensure that when the time came, my vengeance would be absolute. So, I bided my time, watching and documenting their every move. I witnessed their clandestine meetings, their stolen glances, and their whispered endearments. Each encounter was like a dagger to my heart, but I remained resolute, channeling my pain into a singular goal, to bring them down. Unaware of my surveillance, Isabella and Daniel grew bolder in their affair. Their conversations turned to the future, to a life together after the Horizon merger, a deal that would catapult Benson Enterprises into the stratosphere of success. "Once the merger goes through," Daniel murmured, his hand resting possessively on Isabella's thigh, "we can finally go public with our relationship." Isabella's eyes sparkled with anticipation. "And then, I'll divorce Lucas and take half of everything he's built." My blood boiled at her words, but I forced myself to remain impassive, committing every detail to memory. "It's the perfect plan," Daniel said, leaning in to capture Isabella's lips in a searing kiss. "With the merger securing our financial future, nothing can stop us." They were wrong. So terribly wrong. As the days ticked by, I watched them finalize the merger agreement, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Their arrogance was palpable, their belief in their infallible plan unwavering. But I knew better. I had seen the cracks in their armor, the flaws that would ultimately lead to their downfall. And when the time was right, I would strike, unleashing a fury that would shatter their carefully constructed dreams into a million pieces. The conference room at the heart of Benson Enterprises headquarters exuded an air of sophistication and power. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning panoramic view of the city skyline, while sleek mahogany furnishings and state-of-the-art technology seamlessly blended luxury with functionality. On this particular day, the room buzzed with anticipation as the members of the board of directors filed in, their faces alight with the promise of a monumental achievement. Isabella and Daniel, the masterminds behind the Horizon merger, stood at the head of the table, their confidence radiating like a tangible force. As the final board member took their seat, Isabella cleared her throat, commanding the attention of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice ringing with authority. "Today marks a historic moment for Benson Enterprises." Daniel stepped forward, a self-assured smile playing on his lips. "After months of meticulous negotiations, we have finalized the merger agreement with Horizon Innovations." A murmur of excitement rippled through the board members as they absorbed the implications of Daniel's words. This merger would catapult our company into the stratosphere, solidifying our position as industry leaders and opening doors to unprecedented opportunities. As Isabella launched into the finer details of the agreement, her eyes met mine across the room. For a fleeting moment, a flicker of uncertainty flickered in her gaze, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by a mask of cool professionalism. Little did she know that I had been watching, documenting every sordid detail of her affair with Daniel. The evidence was irrefutable, and I had been meticulously plotting my retaliation, biding my time until the perfect moment to strike. That moment was now. As the presentation drew to a close, the board members erupted into applause, their faces radiant with the prospect of imminent success. Isabella and Daniel basked in the glow of their achievement, sharing a conspiratorial glance that spoke volumes of their ill-begotten plans. It was then that I rose from my seat, my movements deliberate and purposeful. All eyes turned towards me, the room falling into an uneasy hush. "Congratulations on the merger," I began, my voice cutting through the silence like a razor-sharp blade. "It's a truly remarkable achievement." Isabella's brow furrowed, sensing the undercurrent of tension in my words. Daniel, ever the charmer, flashed me a disarming smile. "Thank you, Lucas," he said smoothly. "This wouldn't have been possible without your leadership and guidance." I met his gaze, unflinching. "Indeed, which is why it pains me to reveal the depth of your betrayal." A collective gasp echoed through the room as I reached into my briefcase and withdrew a thick file, its contents meticulously organized, a damning array of evidence that would shatter their carefully constructed facade. "Isabella and Daniel have been engaged in a clandestine affair for months," I proclaimed, my voice resonating with righteous fury. "They orchestrated this merger not for the betterment of our company, but for their own selfish gains." The air thick with disbelief and uncertainty. Isabella's face drained of color, her lips parted in a silent protest. With a few deft keystrokes, I brought up a series of surveillance footage on the massive display screen, leaving no room for doubt. The images spoke for themselves, capturing intimate moments between Isabella and Daniel. Stolen kisses, whispered endearments, and conspiratorial glances. "This is a severe breach of corporate ethics," I thundered, my gaze sweeping across the stunned faces of the board members. "A betrayal of the highest order, capable of tarnishing the reputation we have worked so tirelessly to build." The room held its collective breath, the tension palpable enough to cut with a knife. Isabella and Daniel, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them, could only watch in mute horror as the weight of their transgressions bore down upon them. In that moment, I knew that victory was within my grasp. The stage was set, and the curtain was about to fall on their grand designs. The silence that followed my revelation was deafening, punctuated only by the rapid thrum of my heartbeat in my ears. The board members shifted in their seats, their expressions ranging from shock to outright disgust. Isabella was the first to break the stillness, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. "Lucas, this is preposterous. How dare you accuse us of such heinous acts?" Daniel, ever the consummate actor, played his part with conviction. "This is clearly a misunderstanding," he insisted, his gaze sweeping over the board members. Lucas is grasping at straws, desperate to maintain control. But their protests rang hollow, their credibility shattered by the irrefutable evidence I had presented. The board members exchanged furtive glances, their unease palpable. It was time to deliver the final blow. Leaning forward, I fixed my gaze on the assembled members, my voice imbued with a steely resolve. Isabella and Daniel's actions constitute a flagrant violation of our company's code of conduct. Their personal indiscretions have compromised the integrity of this merger, casting doubt on the motivations behind every decision they've made. A murmur of assent rippled through the room, and I knew I had them. We cannot allow such blatant disregard for our values to go unchecked. I pressed on, my words cutting through the silence like a scalpel. If we condone this behavior, we risk setting a precedent that will undermine the very foundation of our organization. Silence reigned once more as the board members digested my impassioned plea. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension that threatened to suffocate us all. Finally, the chairman cleared his throat, his voice grave. "All in favor of terminating Isabella Benson and Daniel Clark's employment with Benson Enterprises, effective immediately?" One by one, hands rose into the air, a unanimous verdict that sealed their fates. Isabella and Daniel, their dreams of conquest reduced to ashes, could only watch in stunned disbelief as the very empire they had sought to conquer crumbled around them. As the gavel fell, I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. The first battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The aftermath of the board meeting was a whirlwind of activity, a storm that I had meticulously orchestrated. With Isabella and Daniel ousted, a power vacuum had been created, one that I was all too eager to fill. Wasting no time, I mobilized my extensive network of allies and associates, leveraging decades of cultivated relationships and favors owed. My influence rippled through the industry like a tidal wave, sweeping aside any opposition or dissent. Within days, I had consolidated my control over Benson Enterprises, leaving no room for Isabella or Daniel to regain their footing. Every aspect of their downfall was executed with surgical precision, each move calculated to maximize their humiliation and suffering. As I sat in my office, surveying the empire I had reclaimed, a sense of grim satisfaction washed over me. Isabella and Daniel had thought themselves untouchable, their ambition blinding them to the consequences of their actions. But I, a master of corporate espionage and manipulation, had seen through their charade from the very beginning. In the weeks that followed, I turned my attention to Isabella, determined to dismantle every aspect of her life with the same ruthless efficiency that had secured my victory at Benson Enterprises. Rumors and innuendos began to circulate, whispers of infidelity and dishonor that spread like wildfire through the industry's grapevine. Sensitive information, carefully curated and selectively leaked, painted Isabella as a duplicitous viper, willing to sacrifice her integrity for personal gain. The media, ever hungry for scandal, pounced on the story, amplifying the narrative until it became a deafening roar. Isabella's once sterling reputation was tarnished beyond repair, her professional network crumbling around her as former allies and associates distanced themselves from the toxic fallout. I watched from the shadows, a puppet master pulling the strings, as Isabella's world unraveled before her very eyes. Her once bright future dimmed, and still, I was not satisfied. As Isabella's star faded, Daniel's descent into desperation was equally satisfying to witness. The man who had once charmed his way through the corporate world now found himself a pariah, his assets frozen and his future prospects bleak. Realizing the gravity of his situation, Daniel attempted to flee, to salvage what remained of his tattered career. But I had anticipated his move, laying the groundwork for his downfall with the same meticulous attention to detail that had defined my every stratagem. Legal challenges rained down upon him, each one a carefully calculated blow designed to cripple him financially and emotionally. Allegations of corporate misconduct, insider trading, and embezzlement formed a noose around his neck, tightening with every passing day. His once sharp mind dulled, consumed by the specter of potential prison time and the realization that his grand ambitions had been reduced to ash. With Isabella and Daniel's professional lives in ruins, their personal lives soon followed suit, crumbling under the relentless onslaught of my psychological warfare. Cryptic messages, subtle reminders of their betrayal, and hints of my ever-present control began to infiltrate their daily existence. A flower arrangement with a pointed message, a gift left on their doorstep, each carefully orchestrated to heighten their paranoia and erode their sense of security. They became prisoners in their own lives. The once confident individuals who had dared to challenge me were reduced to shells of their former selves. As their relationships frayed, their personal lives disintegrated, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. Every waking moment was consumed by the fear of what I might do next, their minds trapped in a never-ending cycle of dread and uncertainty. Arranging a high-profile press conference, I stepped into the spotlight, my confidence radiating like a beacon. The assembled media, ever hungry for a sensational story, hung on my every word as I wove a carefully crafted narrative. I portrayed myself as the wronged but resilient husband, a man who had sacrificed everything to save Benson Enterprises from the cancer of internal corruption. Isabella and Daniel's affair was painted as a calculated betrayal, a selfish act that threatened to undermine the very foundations of our company. With each word, I garnered sympathy and admiration, the public and media unaware of the depths of my manipulations. They hailed me as a hero, a champion of integrity and ethics, blissfully ignorant of the machinations that had brought me to this point. As the cameras flashed and the accolades poured in, I basked in the glow of my victory, secure in the knowledge that my power and control were now absolute. Isabella and Daniel had been reduced to mere footnotes in my legacy, cautionary tales of the consequences of crossing me. And as for my divorce proceedings, they were a mere formality, a final severing of ties to a toxic chapter in my life. With Isabella's reputation in tatters and her assets stripped away, she posed no threat to the empire I had reclaimed. I was free to shape the future of Benson Enterprises as I saw fit, unburdened by the weight of betrayal and deception that had once threatened to consume me. As the cameras flashed and the adulation washed over me, I allowed myself a small, self-satisfied smile. The war had been won, and I had emerged triumphant, a titan among mere mortals.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.